Well, I've been telling people, look, don't look for your savior with man, and don't look for your leaders on television. You're not going to find your leaders for this mess on television. And part of the problem we're having here, too, there are racist groups in America. And sometimes, like I've had some recent dealings with an event we're trying to put on some events down in Arizona, and it's hard to tell sometimes whether these people who try to paint a big racist target on good people, the Tea Party's 99.5+% of them are all non-extreme people, but then these people try to get in the middle of it and paint a target on them, and sometimes it looks like they're real racist, and sometimes it's like, who's really paying these people for this? Who is really behind this? Because I am seeing a pattern of people that either are racist or are pretending to be racist, like skinheads and neo-Nazis and stuff, beelining it for people like Sheriff Joe Arpaio and Russell Pierce and J.D. Hayworth down in Arizona. These folks are trying to get in the picture with them, like, jump in front of the car and take a picture as if they posed with them and all this other stuff. And it's really hard to tell.
Well, let me stop you. Let me give you some intel. It broke even on the Drudge Report a month ago, and it was in the Associated Press, AP, that Democratic operatives all over the country said we're going to go out with racist signs at tea parties to make them look racist. And we've caught white supremacist leaders coming out that they were feds. And so let's talk about that when we come back, because actually, sir, they've been caught doing this. So your instinct was absolutely right.
Well, I wanted to mention a name real quick, talk radio guy that we had to keep pulling stuff off our website named Hal-Turner, who was constantly putting out stuff about the North American Union, the Euro, and this other stuff, and this stuff turned out being, crud. It was like legitimate looking on the surface, but then we come to find out that after he was arrested, this guy was on the FBI payroll.
Yeah, stay there.
Cyrus Jones from 1810 to 1913.
Folks, I'm somebody who was brought up to be colorblind, grew up in Dallas, very diverse area. And then in college, Ike was told America was bad. They had to cancel the Texas Independence Day rally at UT. Pro-Texas isn't even allowed. It had nothing to do with the border. And then I learned about the plan of San Diego and Mecha and La Raza and Azadlan. And I've literally saw the mayor of Austin, Gus Garcia at the time, have a proclamation where he said Hispanics are a god race descended from aliens. I couldn't find that video last week, but Steve Mason's actually bringing it in today, so we should have it tomorrow. I mean, bizarre stuff. And we should criticize the Klan when they're trying to radicalize and get white people to be racist, but there's not 30 million Klan members. And there are 30 million illegals in this country. And we need to really point out this is dangerous. And when Fox Studios, 20th Century Fox, is funding a film like Machete, we've got a big problem here. And so we need to get this out in the open. Now, William-Gheen of Alipac.us is our guest, and I've been ranting and raving, but I wanted him to be able to go over other issues he wanted to cover, things that he thinks is important before we go to calls. And then also I wanted to go over Mexican pirates attack American fishermen, San Antonio Express News. But, William, you've got the floor for other key info people need to be made aware of.
Well, one of the things that we've been doing, and we've been doing all along, Alex, is that we've been asking Hispanic and Black Americans to unify with white and Asian Americans against this threat from illegal immigration. And at the same time, while we're telling more radical elements in the white community that appear here and there to stay back and not target people based on race, we've got to ask Blacks and Hispanics to do the same thing. They've got the exact same thing going on, except it's being tolerated and it's not being suppressed like it is in the white community. Now, some of the white hate groups or neo-Nazi groups and whatnot, they believe that moderates the moderate people in America, that we're out of time. Basically, they know the history on this thing from the Weimar Republic, where it ends up with their people versus the communists in the streets, and they don't mind going there, Alex. They don't mind going back to that because they know how it often pans out when it's them versus the communists in the streets. So we're trying to keep it from going there. And for it to not go there, people like me and others that are concerned about illegal immigration need to watch our affiliations, do the very best we can to keep people who are being racist out of the political debate. And we need the help of Black and Hispanic leaders. I've said it 100 times, and of course the smear groups will never give me credit for it. I've said that my goal is to unify and this is what I think they fear the most, unify the 80% of Americans that keep showing up in these polls that feel a certain way. They don't want us to unify.
That's right. America isn't 80% white. It's roughly 50%. So what's that other 30%? That's Hispanics and blacks and Asians. They want private property. They want the Second Amendment. They don't want to live in the third world.
Well, the way we see it, over 80% of white Americans want the border security and illegal immigration reversed. Over 65% of black Americans feel the same way. And somewhere between 54 and 56% of America's legal Hispanics feel that way. Now, unfortunately, over half the Hispanics in the country right now are here illegally. So that reduces the Hispanics that are with Americans down to under 30%. But overall, 80% of Americans, especially if you take the illegal aliens out of the polling data, want the border secured, our existing laws enforced, no benefits for illegals, employers fine, and illegal aliens to go home.
Yeah, I've seen Gallup polls of 79% of Hispanics want more border security. So I guess that must be a poll of people that are citizens.
Well, I'm not sure. We're very guarded about Gallup. We've seen Gallup come out with some readings that are very far off from the other poll medians on readings like this. But what I'm trying to say is the elites that are responsible for what's happening here in the country do not want William-gheen, Alex Jones, or anybody else to unify the public against them. And so that's why the racial canards are being thrown out left and right to try to keep that from happening. That is their game. That's how they play it. And if there's no racism to be found on a group or individual, they'll either make it up or try to send somebody in to label them like that, which is what we were talking about before the end of the last break. Even that, one of the biggest racists that had a radio station in the country last year, when he was finally arrested in court, it turned out he was on the FBI payroll.
And they had all the emails where the feds are going, good job, bring them out. You make them look extreme. He's like, don't worry, I'm getting them for you. And it turned out he was the highest level FBI agent, but then that looks like it's classified. Then they said asset, but at national security level. It was above counterterrorism.
He went right after the North American Union and kept floating bogus claims. I know a lot of people out there listening probably saw in their emails claiming that he had documentation of the Amero, the new currency for America, and that a certain number of Ameros and gold had been shipped to China, and he had evidence of it. Over at alipac.us, the largest archive of information on these topics, we tell people to keep a grain of salt handy, but we do our very best, especially when we see something going viral on the web, to analyze it and to rate its credibility level. And we kept looking at this stuff coming out of this hal-turner guy because it was on.
No, exactly. He would say computers found with a tracker chip instead of covering all the real admissions of tracking, and then it would be discredited. Or he said, I got this from the Mint when it was a joke coin. We pointed out the Mint in Colorado that actually made it as an anti-North American Union. So instead of looking at all the real SPP documents that Judicial Watch got, instead of looking at all the facts that I was covering, you were covering, that Lou Dobbs was covering, instead the media could say, look at this Amero coin hoax.
Mm-hmm. Disinformation. Hal-Turner, who was on the payroll of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, broadcasting racial hatred and racial animosity, was also broadcasting disinformation about illegal immigration in the North American Union and one currency. He was putting it out intentionally. He had masters and handlers that were paying him to do it. And so, we know that there's a game afoot here. I just think that the problem we're having right now, Alex, is getting some of these agents are all around the immigration enforcement movement. They're on the inside. They're all around and on the inside of the Tea Party movement. They have, infiltrated, and we've got to do something. We have got to do something, Alex, to get the true blue people here together and soon to strengthen and improve communication and cooperation in a way that cannot be derailed by the infiltrators and the crazies. That's
the best way to deal with it is to call it out when you see it. But to follow the people to their car, get their license number, you'll then discover they're a Fed or they're working for the Southern Poverty Law Center, and that's come out. But to also just continue to point out the AP article where these Democratic operatives in all 50 states organized and did go out, and it was also in New Mexico news. They even admitted to the news they would dress up like Nazis with racist signs, and they even admitted they were doing it. So as long as we explain to the public that most of this is provocateur, I think that's the most important message.
Well, we're going to basically, the Tea Parties have been important and strong up to this point, but we're going to basically steer people away from the rally thing into the campaigns and elections, because we feel that is the number one place that the public can make the difference that it needs to make.
Yeah, we need to have Tea Parties inside the State House in hearings, inside the County Commissioner's Court, inside the City Council, not just dissipating all of our energy standing around in the street.
Well, each campaign for public office that's active right now is a mini organization in itself that needs money and people. And the candidates, I don't think that the feds and the Democrats and others have a lot of agent provocateurs that are posing as candidates right now, and it's too late for them to create them. They are able to get activists out there, people at events, and events are the most vulnerable things that there are. But, you know, basically, these people are highly sophisticated liars. 99% of what I'm having to deal with and what the American public is having to deal with right now, I think could be described in two words: sophisticated liars.